You are listening to American Tower Climbers.
This is your host,
Brian motherfucking Campbell.
Saddle on up, hold on tight,
and enjoy the ride.
because we will be going live in 3, 2, 1.
This is American Tower Climbers, and this is your host, Ryan Campbell. Joining us today is Marissa Nickles.
Thank you for having me.
Can we start off by your last name and telling us the original story of it?
So my great-grandparents immigrated from Poland to the United States. I'm about 50% Polish, and their original last name was Nickleski. A lot of Polish names end in Nickleski, and at that time, the Polish people, otherwise known as Polacks, the derogatory term, were being discriminated against. So my grandfather did not want us to be discriminated against, so he got rid of the ski at the end of our last name, and now I am Marissa Nickles.
So at the time, was Nickles a more Americanized sounding name? Is that what he's going for?
Correct. Yeah, my name is spelled a little bit differently than the typical Nickles. Nichols is more common. My last name is spelled Nickles.
So how often do you think, would you say that people actually spell it like the coin, correct?
I mean, I get more of the last name spelling because there's not really many people that spell their last name Nickles as in the coin. When people read my last name, they usually pronounce it as Nicholas, like
Nice.
Saint Nicholas.
Ah, that makes sense. So before we begin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what I'm really fascinated with is congratulations to you. I think it's safe to say you got your master's.
In a couple of days, I will officially have my master's degree, correct?
Congratulations. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. It's been a long 2 years.
And what is this master's in?
I am receiving my master's in reproductive clinical science.
Huh. So what exactly do you do?
What do I do? So I am currently working as an embryologist. That means I make babies in test tubes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I get to help people who cannot have babies have babies. I make dreams come true.
Do you know anybody that was a test tube baby?
Well, yes, I do. I was a test tube baby.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Just you?
Just me and
Nobody
my
else?
twin sister.
Oh,
Yes, we are identical twins, so that means that we came from one single cell that split.
shout out to Emily.
Shout out to Emily Nickles.
I think that's her name, right?
That's
I've met her a few
definitely her
times.
name. Just a couple times.
So what do you think about this podcast?
I like it. This equipment's great. I think you have a lot to say, and I think it's going to be interesting.
What did you think I was going to do at my time when they said you're going to have to go and sit at home and do nothing? What did you think I was going to do?
When you bought the Xbox, I assumed that you were going to be playing lots of Xbox. I also assumed that you were going to be doing lots of jujitsu, mostly on me. When you got the mats,
That is true.
maybe watch a little bit of television, take some naps, bother the cats.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you think I play Xbox?
You know, you don't play it that much, or maybe you just don't play it while I'm around or awake.
I think my peak hours are from I'll say midnight to sometimes the most I've gone is 6 a.m.
Yeah, sometimes I'm waking up and you're just going to bed.
So after that, I decided, you know what, I should probably be productive. Some people say learn a language. I decided to make a podcast.
I think that's a great use of your time.
And I'd say maybe in a week, I decided, you know what, I'm going to buy the equipment and I'm just going to get it going.
It's all been a very fast process.
I think so. The reason that I started this is because in 2014, I started American Tower Climbers Instagram. I was just posting up a couple pictures because I thought it was something cool that we did. And then now I was like, you know what? Why not start a podcast and see how it goes? This is primarily just for fun, and people listen, cool. If not, then who cares? I'm not trying to make money. One of the topics why I decided that you'd probably be a good guest is college versus trade school, or just trade, I guess, because sometimes there is some trades where you don't actually need a school. So, could you tell us the process of how you got your master's? Maybe take it back as high school before that, or just explain the process of what you wanted to do. Did you know you wanted to be an embryologist at a young age?
I did not. I actually hadn't considered it as a career, even considering that I knew of it as being a field of study very early on. I actually wanted to be a fashion designer up until I graduated from high school. I took a big interest in AP biology, and I decided that I wanted to study biology.
So the $1 million question, what do you want to be when you grow up? When do you think you got that question?
I got that question when we were living in Texas, actually. My dad wanted us to move back, and he pulled some strings and got me an interview at a IVF clinic in Beverly Hills, and that sparked my interest in the field.
What happened to that original?
Unfortunately, it fell through, but it did bring us back, and I think it thrust us into where we are right now.
So
gave us that push.
You were never asked this question in high school, before high school, what you want to do when you grow up, a teacher?
I wanted to, my best friend in high school actually ended up passing away from cancer. So I did want to become an oncologist.
I'm sorry, what's a oncologist?
Oncologist, so that's a cancer doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm usually always on call. Is that the same thing?
Yes. Yeah, definitely the same thing.
So I'm going to brag about you a little bit. You did, one, I didn't even know you could get anything higher than a 4.0 in high school.
Correct, yeah.
And didn't you get something higher than a 4.0?
I actually got exactly a 4.0.
Oh.
Yeah, came down to the last wire, you know.
But you were trying to get above a 4.0.
I wanted to get a 4.0 or above. You got special honors at graduation if you got 4.0 or higher. When you take AP classes in high school, at least where I went, it allows you extra units. So you can get up to, I might be wrong, but a 5.0 GPA if you take all of the AP classes offered.
Have I told you my GPA?
No.
It was just enough to get through high school. I think what do you need, a 2.8, 3.0?
I don't know.
Something like that, yeah. So who motivated you? Did you motivate yourself to get a higher than a 4.0, or actually a 4.0?
I mean, I always wanted to do well in school. You know, I think my parents instilled the idea that I could be whatever I wanted to be. And they provided that positive influence in my life. And I think that because I was always involved in sports, that provides a really great community, and I think it really activates your learning and your desire to succeed in more than just one area of your life.
Nice. What kind of sports did you do when did you start sports?
I mean, I did ballet and, you know, the typical toddler stuff. I did a version.
I never did ballet as a toddler.
Oh, well, most boys do. So you should probably tell your mom.
It's funny now because I wear tights.
You do wear tights.
Yeah, for jiu-jitsu class, guys. Just throwing it out there. I'm trying to kill people.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you started ballet.
Yeah, so I did that, you know, just recreationally. And then I got into martial arts. So I did a version of Hapkido called Farang Musol. I did that for approximately 5 years. I got 2 belts away from a black belt when I decided I wanted to quit and pursue ballet. I did that type of dance where you go up on your toes. It's called point. It's very beautiful and it's incredibly painful. And I did that for 2 to 3 years. And then when I entered high school, I took an interest in cross country and track and field. Turns out that I was better at running than I was at dancing. So I decided to pursue that further. And I'm glad I did because it provided great opportunities for helping me get into colleges.
If I could say one thing, me doing jiu-jitsu now, you would always say there's an inside joke, people that do jiu-jitsu, that the first thing when I tell someone, if I'm at a party or I'm at a social event and I say, hey, I do jiu-jitsu, 9 out of 10 times someone's gonna go, oh, I did karate when I was younger. And to be honest, I don't know too much about karate, but you could look at some YouTube videos. Karate is not as effective now since you have jiu-jitsu, maybe back then. But I will give you credit. Your dad showed us a video of you doing karate, and it's actually pretty hardcore. I didn't think it was going to be that hardcore, but you're kicking at people's jugulars pretty much and sometimes knocking them down.
Well, I did do grappling in my field of study, and they would blindfold me, and I would wrestle people blindfolded. So I don't consider it to be too far off of jiu-jitsu in some aspects, because we did have that whole guard and, passing the guard and stuff.
We'll save that for another podcast. So, you started ballet.
Yeah.
You did karate. And then in the whole time you're actually studying, doing academics, and trying to hold a 4.0. I'm sorry, this is in middle school or high school? Or started from...
I did dance in middle school and into the beginning of high school. And then I was told I had to choose ballet or track and field by my track and field coach.
And I'm sorry, you said that this is in high school?
In high school, yes, my freshman year of high school.
So did you just pick a name out of the hat and decided, you know what, I'm going to run?
No, I enjoyed running more. I enjoyed the people involved in it more. It's a lot less catty than dance.
Nice. So, and I'm sorry, you said freshman year?
Freshman year of high school.
And so you started running.
Correct.
You're getting 4.0s.
Yes.
You graduated with a 4.0.
I did.
And all the time you were running.
Yes.
Now brings me to my next question. At that time, what was your diet like?
I was a vegetarian, but I was a very junk food focused person. I ate a lot of Kraft mac and cheese, a lot of frozen pizzas at the time. Yes,
I know that. I was impressed. Normally I was bulking and into bodybuilding, I guess the opposite of your diet. And I remember I made 2 boxes of Kraft and macaroni at my mom's, and you ate both of them.
Yes.
And one of the most fascinating things that I love about you is you're running 90 miles a week when I met you.
In college, correct.
You were just about out of college. Or did I meet you when you were in college still?
You met me while I was in college, but I just wanted to confirm I was not running 90 miles a week in high school.
Gotcha. That's still impressive in college.
Yeah, it was. I reached my peak mileage over the summer, though, so it was really just, working part-time and running. I didn't have that added school aspect.
So in high school, did anyone give you grief about being a vegetarian?
All the time.
Why?
I think it's, people can feel guilty and they can feel like I'm judging them, even though, I don't say anything. I don't give them any weird looks, but they feel guilty.
In my opinion, I could see if someone was faster than you, you can't really do much if they give you grief that you're vegetarian. But I'm assuming there's a lot of people that were not athletes and gave you grief. Am I assuming correct?
I was mostly friends with athletes, so most of them were athletes.
Oh, so that actually is probably tough then.
Yeah, but I mean, I really didn't care. I talked to my coaches, and I had many coaches throughout high school and college, and none of them said that I would have been faster if I ate meat.
Huh, okay. Did I ever give you motivation to beat them and maybe throw in their face that you're a vegetarian?
No, I think I just always wanted to win, awesome. Regardless.
That is respectable. So, out of high school, you get into college. Who and why or what motivated you to go to college?
There wasn't really any other option that I thought of. You go to high school and then you go to college. That's just how the world worked. I didn't really know about trade school. I didn't know any other option. You can't, in my head, out of high school, you could not be successful unless you went to college.
That is actually very important in my generation. We're about the same generation, but still years apart. If I could share something with you. In my high school, was about the peak of the recession, and what we were told, it was pretty rough. We were told that college is what you needed to do. If you had to go to college, you need a degree, you'll never amount to anything. And at that time, even if you wanted to be in the army or the military or any of those forces, they really weren't accepting people. So before the recession, that was kind of like people's last resort. You get in, and it was kind of frowned upon that military should be your first choice. That was always kind of put as your last choice. If and not to offend anybody, for people that slacked off, people that needed structure. I was a kid that needed structure. My dad went to the army, and he put that structure on me, and I slacked off a lot in school, and I went to another school that had nothing but structure. It was called, I'm not sure if I could really actually say it, but I will. I don't think it'd be that big of a deal, but I went to Boys Republic, so it was an all-boys school, and it was very structured. And out of high school, I tried going to the service. I think originally I wanted to go to the Marines, and at the time, I think my mom or someone convinced me, and don't go to Marines. And this is when people were still going to Afghanistan and the Middle East, and I guess I had a chip on my shoulder, and I just wanted to go in and fight and just be a badass, I guess you could say, because I just wanted to prove something. So I was born with one kidney. They didn't allow me in there. They asked me a bunch of questions, and when it came to medical stuff, I said I had a surgery. The reason being is because I have one kidney. They said that's a disqualification. And at that time, before high school, people were getting bonuses. So if you want to go to the military, you want to go to the army, you want to go to the Navy, etc., they're like, yeah, sign now and you're going to get a $10,000 bonus. So at my time, when the recession hit, they're like, hey, there's nothing. Like, you had to fight your way to just get into military. So that kind of showed you how the recession was taking effect. So what they said is you need to go to college. So I did that, barely got my high school diploma, and I went to college about half a semester. And it just wasn't for me. I just knew it wasn't for me. And if I could back it up, when I was 15, as soon as I knew I was 15, I think it's 15 and a half, you can start to work. So my family always had financial problems. I grew up in Chino Hills, where the student parking lot, they had Lamborghinis, Ferraris. It was crazy. The students, this is where I grew up in Chino Hills, where the students had fancier cars, and I'm not exaggerating, on the track side. So there's a track over at our school, and that's where the seniors park, because I think about maybe junior to senior year, you could start driving. So you look at the parking lot, there's Hummers, there's Lamborghinis, there's Nissan NSXs, twin turbo. That was like the coolest thing ever. You had the muscle meathead guys, and then also you had the import guys when like Fast and Furious just came out. And then you go over to the student or the teacher's parking lot, and it was like Camrys, broken down Camrys. They're trying to struggle, just trying to make some money. And I think at that time they were laying off teachers, and so it was a tough time. They told us, you know what, you need to go to college. At the time, I was working at a tire store, and it was fun. It was easy. You go in. I was always a hard worker. Like I said, my family always had financial issues. So as soon as I turned 15 and a half, I was like, I want to make my own money. I'm tired of relying on my parents, because it's hard to live, I guess, like an ugly duckling in Chino Hills, because everyone else has fancy cars. Exactly at 16, I think 16 you get your license. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right at 16, people are getting Ferraris and brand new cars and et cetera. And me, I'm left in the dust. So at 15 and a half, I said, you know what? I'm going to get into the workforce. I tried McDonald's. I tried applying to McDonald's. I tried applying anywhere. I told myself, you know what? If I start at the bottom anywhere, I'll make my way up, no matter what it was. So I had no pride or no shame working at McDonald's, but they don't want to hire someone that's 15 and a half, even for McDonald's, because at that time, they were taking in older people because of the recession, I guess you could say. I forget what the recession was all about. I think it was houses, and the banks were giving loans to a lot of people, and then just keep increasing the rent or the APR or the financing. I'm not good with numbers, but it screwed up a lot of people. So now you had old people going into McDonald's, working, and then my generation couldn't even get a job at McDonald's. So I was lucky enough to work at a tire shop. They sold me this dream. They said, you know what, this is where you could be at the rest of your life. So I worked my butt off there, and I made money. And I decided, you know what, I was also told you need to go to college. You need to go to college. So me and my buddy went to college. That lasted about half a semester. It was pretty embarrassing. Most of the stuff at that time, I couldn't. It just wasn't for me. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go into the workforce. So I busted my butt forever and ever and ever. And I think this is the point where things changed. I remember this gentleman, and to this day, by this time I was working at the tire shop overall I worked there for 8 years. And I'd say this is maybe about 6 years in, 7 years in. So out of high school, I worked there. And this guy comes in this nice boat, right? I had people come in fancy cars all the time. And that's kind of ironic because same thing like Chino Hills. You know, when I was in high school, the senior kids always had fancy cars and all that stuff. And now I'm working at a tire shop, working my butt off with $300,000 Mercedes-Benz, expensive things. But also we took care of trailer tires, so a boat came in. And I told the gentleman, I was like, wow, that's a nice boat. And I was like, I can't wait to get one. I wish I could get a boat right now. I think if I save some money, I could probably get one. How much are they? He's like, oh, they're pretty expensive. And I was like, well, how do I get to your level? And he told me, and he was right at the time. And he said, you're not supposed to have a boat and a car at your age. And that kind of hit me. It kind of pissed me off a little bit. Like, you know what? You don't know what I'm capable of. I work my butt off. This company told me that I could get where I need to go. And every day I gave 100%. And that kind of stuck with me. And I realized, you know what? The job that I'm at, it's not doing it. You know, I want to get that boat and car sooner. I wanted that financial security. That's really what I was looking for. So after maybe a year of thinking of that gentleman that told me that you won't get it, I saw my friends that, let's say they didn't really have, you have those friends where they don't have a lot of money. You know what I mean? You see them struggling through college and high school. Yeah. Yeah. They're always asking you for $20. Mm-hmm. You're trying to go out to a nice restaurant and they're always the ones that are like, hey, do you have $20? Yeah. And you gotta give them some money. So one day my friends are coming into my tire shop, dropping $1,200 on brand new tires on this old jalopy, the rundown truck that he's fixing up. And I was just like, where are you getting this money? And like, I got this new job, this and that, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. So I continued working at the tire shop. And then I met a gentleman and we became bar friends and we drank. And I found out he was one of the head guys for a telecom company for all of Southern California. And actually he was employing my friends. So I see my friends, they're buying trucks and cars and be able to rent houses on their own. So I kind of dabbled into it and I decided, hey, how could I get a job with you? And honestly, at that time, I didn't want to work at America's Tire. Oh, I don't want to work at America's Tire Company anymore. So I didn't want to work at the tire shop anymore. So I decided to quit and go into telecom. And to be honest, all I thought I was doing was installing computers and working inside what is known now as shelters, just installing computer stuff, and that's it. And then one day they said, hey, you're going to go up on the tower, but first you got to take this class and learn how to climb, and et cetera. And I was like, wow, I get to climb and go up on this tower and do some crazy stuff. So that's what happened to me. And it's a trade. It's not a trade school because most unions, and going back to the recession, most of the unions, they were hurting. So they have a hierarchy. So once they're in, they're in. And when they started laying people off, they started laying off the people that, were lower on the totem pole. So for at that time, for me going into the military, it was out of the question. Physically, I couldn't get into it. And then trying to get into the union for anything, a trade school, an actual trade school. Do you know what a trade school is?
Yes, you learn like welding and stuff in trade school, correct?
Yes. You also make money doing it.
So you don't end up in debt like you do at a
Exactly.
traditional university.
Exactly.
Very nice.
So you get to pay while you learn, right?
You get paid while you learn. Yeah, absolutely.
And so this was a trade where I didn't have to go into union. And then from there, I fell in love with it. And at one point, after 2 or 3 years, I gave so much work into it. In a year, I became a foreman. I had a lot of pride in it. This was something that took me out of poverty, something that I was proudful of, and I was good at it. Not only was I making money out of it and things were going good, I was good at it. And this is the first thing in my life I was actually good at. So I gave it all my all for 2 or 3 years. And to be honest, I just got tired of it. Not the job. It was just, it was a cutthroat business where one day you're working 60 to 80 hours a week, no days off. And then you're off for a month. And I was like, I'm so tired of this. This is the closest I've ever been to getting out of poverty or being in the slums. And yet it was like torture. You know, the finances were there, but the security wasn't there. It was like, oh, this is rough. And now I guess if you plan it right, what you got to do is you just got to save. You got to be like a squirrel and save all your acorns. So in a month from now, when you don't work for a whole month, you use that money. So I decided to, I think it was, what year did you say we met?
2016.
So 2016, the recession's over. The economy is slowly is getting back to normal. And I decided, one of my buddies said, hey, you should quit that telecom company and become a lineman. I had no idea what it was. He said, it's fairly similar, but you're going to make a lot more money. It's a lot more dangerous, but the money's there. You're going to be able to do anything. So I had a fork in the road. Do I stick with the telecom that was beating me and eating me alive? And I just keep thinking that story. How am I going to get that boat and cars and financial security and just the basic things in life? Or do I quit telecom, something that I'm really good at and love, and go into this apprenticeship, which is, by the way, very hard to get into the apprenticeship. The process is super, super hard. Basically, you have to go spend at least a minimum of $2,000 to $3,000 to get a commercial driver's license just to apply. In Southern California, they accept applications once a year, once to twice a year for 6 days, 6 or 7 days, I think 10 days the max. Then you have to go through an interview process. And then they just basically tell you, hey, we're going to put you on a ranking scale. And if you get called, we'll call you in. If not, in 2 years, then just go and reapply. That's not really practical, would you say?
Absolutely not. You can't just put your life on hold and wait for this.
So I was lucky enough to get an apprenticeship out in Texas. So I chased that. And I think that's when we met.
Yes, we met right before you got accepted into the Texas apprenticeship.
And we went out to Texas. And I wouldn't even say I was making a bunch of money then, but it was solid.
You were solid. I was not solid in Texas. It is what in the area that we were located, Houston, it is kind of the medical capital of the United States. They have the nation's biggest medical center with a ton of research going on. You would think that somebody that has graduated cum laude with a degree in biotechnology and has research experience that you'd be able to find a job. But it was impossible for me to find a job out in Texas in research or really use my degree for anything that I can make decent money in. I worked as a phlebotomist at a plasma donation center with my biotechnology degree.
That plasma donating center, did you need a degree to apply there?
You did not. They preferred if you, they wanted you to have a bachelor's degree, but I don't know many people that work there that did have a bachelor's degree. You had to have a high school diploma. That was the requirement.
So how did that job make you feel?
I did not like it. I didn't feel like I was living up to my full potential. I did enjoy the fact that I was helping people. You know, plasma can be used to make medications that are really, really valuable to some people.
But I remember days, they'd be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Tell me one of the story, well, probably one of the worst stories you had at the plasma donating center.
Well, you're not allowed to sleep when you donate plasma. You know, it's for your own safety. You could pass out. I've seen people pass out, have seizures. So you're not allowed to sleep. We want to make sure that you're alive. And some guy kept falling asleep, and we told him not to fall asleep, and he became very aggravated and ended up yanking the needle out of his arm with blood squirting all across the room, and we ended up having to call the fire department because he would not let us patch up his arm.
I remember one other story too. Us coming from Southern California, I'd say we're a melting pot. We don't discriminate, and I don't really know what race. I know what racism is, but I don't practice it. It's just not in my system. But on the other side of that, if someone is being a dumbass, they're going to be a dumbass. I don't care what color they are. So a lot of people confused with that. What would you say the racism was at that plasma donating center? Because I remember sometimes I believe now they call it reverse racism.
I don't know if that's the correct term. I think it would still be referred to as racism, but obviously, you know, it's very much stronger to other ethnic backgrounds than me. But we would have some donors that would not want me to stick them because of the color of my skin.
And what is the color of your skin? What would they say?
White Caucasian.
Huh. It's weird. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a growing experience, though. I never really experienced racism. I never saw it in the real world, and you know, I got to see what it was like to have it just barely put upon me, and I also got to talk to many people who have experienced that kind of, or just absolute horrific things because of the color of their skin.
So we decided, you know what, Texas was cool. We lived on a ranch. I think that was the best part of it. We had pigs, goats, miniature horses, but I have to say it wasn't for us. I don't think for our careers.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it just wasn't a healthy environment for either of us, but especially you. You would come home with heat stroke. You just wouldn't be capable of being a person. You know, when you have heat stroke, when you're not allowed to drink water, it's inhumane.
So what she's referring to is I worked for a union for a lineman apprenticeship, and I thought, okay, I'm in a union now, and I'm going to have all these rights that they talk about, and it was so far from the truth. So my average day was digging holes, barely getting some water, and 80+ degree weather with 100% humidity, which you actually pray for 100-degree weather, because when you have 100-degree weather, it actually burns off the condensation, the humidity. So the way sweat works is you sweat, it cools down your body, it evaporates, the cycle continues. When you have too much humidity, it's like wearing a wetsuit the whole time. So basically you sweat, it stays on your skin, it doesn't go anywhere, and it actually creates a layer in between your shirt and your body, and it actually heats up your body. So everyone there got heat stroke. And on top of that, working 16-hour days, they didn't allow us to get lunches. Sometimes we have lunches, it decided on the foreman. So people were literally passing it left and right. And on top of that too, the wooden poles had something called creosote that was burning off my face. It literally was deteriorating my skin. So at that time, I think after 3 or 4 months, I was like, this ain't for me.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was difficult to just watch you kind of deteriorate in those conditions.
So we decided, you know what, we're going to come back to California. And I tried to go to the Carpenters Union. And believe it or not, I'm allergic to silica, which is found in sheetrock drywall. So it actually made me throw up blood. So that was down the river. So the only thing that I knew was telecom. And it was a bitter, sweet pill to swallow because I worked so hard to stay away from telecom, but I knew it was something I loved and I was good at. So I went back into the field of telecom, and I think I moved back into my parents' garage, my mom's garage. You were back at your parents'. It was like back to square one again after a year and a half.
Yeah.
But everything worked out. I worked for I got hired on with an amazing telecom company. I'm not going to say the name, but I'm sure in due time you'll figure it out. And right now we live in Seal Beach. And how far would you say walking distance do we live from the beach?
Half a mile.
So about 5 minutes. I think I timed it once, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Pretty fast, right?
Put it on your watch and walk it. It's about half a mile.
So coming from the slumps, I'm not gonna go too further in exactly. I don't know if I want to say I had a hard life. Would you say I had a hard life?
Yes, I think you did.
Okay.
Since
it's all in the past, it's just normal to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you were surrounded by the same positive role models as I was.
So that's why I wanted to discuss a little bit about between how we went separate ways, but in the same way, it's kind of the same chapter, different story. But we're good now. I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, me with a master's, you without any higher education, making more money than I do.
So if I could ask you this question, if there's a child, a teenager, Asian, black, girl, boy, it doesn't matter, asexual, binary, whatever they call themselves today, coming out of high school, and what is your opinion on telling them, hey, they don't know what to do? You ask them the $1 million question that we're always asked when we're younger. What do you want to be when you grow up? And now you knowing that I'd say there's two paths. I'm sure there's a lot of paths, but in this scenario we had two paths. There's trade school, and then there's college. What would you tell that child?
I think that community college is a great place to start out when you don't know exactly what you want to do. You can get your associate's degree, which can be useful, and you don't have to go through a full four-year university and pay all of those very expensive tuition fees. So if you truly don't know what you want to do, I think that's a very safe option.
What can you do with that degree, the associate's degree?
I think you can go towards certification programs, like ultrasound technician and such.
And actually, that's a good point. Especially if you're military. I have a buddy that he decided to, outside of the military, to use his GI Bill to go to some kind of like respiratory therapist, which I think is like a 2-year program. So is that considered a trade school, or is that kind of associate's degree?
I don't know if you need a bachelor's or not for that. I'm not quite sure.
So it probably is just a program in itself.
I could not say one way or the other. I don't know.
So what would you tell the same person if they said, hey, you know what? I want to climb a cell phone tower, or I want to be a lineman, or a plumber, or a welder, or I want to be a mud and taper. Do you know what a mud and taper is?
I do not.
So when you add drywall together, there's going to be seams. So all they do is get tape, and it's like a stucco or some kind of a putty that they put in between. It's almost like cake. Like cake frosting. Yeah. So you don't see any seams right now. If you see on the wall, you don't see any seams because typically there was a Mexican that did it. Because when I was out in the field, that's all they do. They pay them. They're in a union. They pay them pretty low, but they get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So, but once you get accepted to the union, you climb the steps, and a lot of times the way the union works is you start off at, let's say in California, typically they're going to start you off at $20 an hour, and you have to go to school specifically for that subject. So if it's going to be mud and taping, welding, whatever the case may be, you don't have to take extracurricular activities. Was there a lot of extracurricular activities that you had to take that do not help you today, or?
Yes, I had to take general education courses, which I don't necessarily think that they're a bad idea. I had to take things like political science, which are very useful. You know, if you want to vote or participate in society, I think it's very useful to know about politics. But I did have to take like music, which I don't necessarily find super useful.
But you paid for those, correct?
I did.
So you had to pay for something that you're probably never going to use, and I think that's used a lot in college.
I mean, with the exception of the music course, I don't necessarily think that everything that I took was a waste.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's really good to be exposed to a number of different things.
I'll agree to that.
Because, you know, well, I might not be using my literature class and I might not be dissecting a book. You know, I can still use those critical thinking skills outside of just in normal life.
So I'm going to have to agree with you at 100%. And if I was asked the same question, I would tell that child, trade schools are always going to be there for the most part. College it's a long process. It's pretty hard. To me, I think going to college, getting a degree, a bachelor's degree is the hardest thing you could do. And I think a lot of people are intimidated by it, so they don't get it done. I was intimidated by it. I didn't get it done. Now, on the other aspect of that, if I tell them try college, if it's not for them, then definitely go into a trade school. If someone said, hey, I want to be a tower climber, and that's truly what they want to be, it's rough. And hopefully this podcast, this is kind of what I want to talk about. It is a rough life. It's not for everybody. It is very challenging. Not only do you have to be physically fit, you have to be technically inclined to learn how to do stuff on computers. It's kind of a 24/7 job. Wouldn't you say that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are always working. You have your work phone on you at all times. When it rings, you answer.
So in the end, I think the big difference between you and I is sometimes we make about the same money. Sometimes I make more most of the time. And that's more because of the quantity of hours at work, not from the hours. Because technically, if you probably worked the same amount of hours I did, you'd probably be getting paid more.
Well,
I'd say now, since you got your master's, you can be paid a little bit more.
it's hard. It's really hard to say just because of the factor of COVID-19, and you know it definitely has an effect on the economy.
After this is all done.
After this is all done, yes. Hopefully,
I mean,
hopefully
life
I will.
before.
Hopefully, I will make more money once I get my
Yeah.
master's.
So it's quite interesting, huh? That you have college. That's a lot of work. It's tough.
I actually didn't mind it. I think that I don't think college is for everybody. I think the way that my brain works, that I was able to understand the way that the body works and understand the stuff that I needed to know to pass my classes. And that helped me succeed. And I didn't, it wasn't like breaking bones or anything. I quite enjoyed going to class and learning. And I also enjoyed all of the other aspects of college. I enjoyed competing on a team. I got to travel around the country. I enjoyed, going to Disneyland late at night, just the college experience.
I've been to
going
Disneyland
parties.
late at night.
Yes, but when you don't have a job and you just get to kind of do what you want,
So what's your end goal? What time do you want to retire? At what age and what time do you think in life?
Gosh, I really haven't thought about it. I really haven't. I'm so new in my career.
That's true.
It's yeah.
So how much time you probably spent until you got to where you're at right now to get the job that you want to?
Well, I would not be in the position that I am right now if I had not started to get my master's. My field is very competitive, and just the fact that I had a good research background and I did well in school, that would not get me a job. They want you to have experience. You're dealing with human life. They want you to have experience. It makes sense. So I got very lucky. My current employer, she graduated from the program that I am graduating from. So that was kind of my foot in the field.
That is a pretty stressful job. That if you put the wrong egg in the wrong person.
Yeah, you know, you can mess it up on a number of different levels. You know, you're taking one sperm and putting it in the egg, but who's to say that, you know, Ryan's sperm looks different from one of his friends? You know, you really can't tell. And then, you know, if you thaw the wrong embryo, then you're putting it into
my
somebody's
sperm's not
body.
better looking than my friend's sperm?
I'm sure your sperm are the best looking sperm out there.
It's not a little bit brighter or something?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the fastest. Yeah.
So that's pretty much what I want to talk about. And I just think it's interesting that you went through college. I didn't. I barely got my high school diploma. And it's not to put you down.
No, I mean, I think it kind of makes it clear that there's no one true path that you follow to success.
See,
there's so many different routes to it, and I think when you follow your passion and you find something that you truly enjoy doing, then you'll be successful.
So you just said that you don't think there is one path, which I agree with that. I think college is good for some people. I think trade schools are better for other people. But I think that $1 million question now is which one is better for you? Gosh, I wish there was some kind of answer or some kind of survey or some test, because the thing that sucks, I don't know in college if you know anybody that has wasted a lot of time and decided they finally get that degree. I don't know, a degree in science or being a doctor, and then they're there and they're like, I spent my whole life doing this, and now I'm actually doing it on my own, and I hate it.
I'm sure that there are lots of people like that feel stuck because they've invested so much money into their career that they feel like they can't leave.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it's not the way that you want to spend your life. You want to enjoy what you're doing.
So do you think there's anything we do to change that? Starting in high school?
I mean, I really think that if you're able to intern in high school, I think that's a good option.
What's that movie where, I don't know if you've seen it, where they test you and they say, oh, you're going to this branch of the community. It's kind of like Hunger Games.
Oh gosh, are you talking about the Divergent series?
Yeah,
or
I think
are you
that's what it
talking
is.
about the
I think that's what it is.
The Giver?
I think it's the Divergent one.
Because they both have very similar themes.
Yeah, where they say, hey, you're going to take this test.
Yeah, that's Divergent then.
And then they go, hey, you're going to be a mathematician. I don't know specifically if that's what it is, but then they say you're going to be, you know. So I think my hand was dealt like ants. You know, they say you're going to be a worker ant, or what was the other one? You know, Ants with a Z, I think, by DreamWorks.
Oh my gosh. I haven't seen that movie, I don't think.
So, or was it a bee?
You could be a worker bee or the queen bee.
I don't remember. It was one of those. But basically, I think I tried college and I was like, nope, that's not it. So it was like work life. And I'm built for it. I like it. Slowing down. I'm trying to plan to retire by 50, 55. So I got to do a lot of saving on money.
Yeah, those are very big goals you got there.
That means I can't buy you all the best things in life.
I can buy myself the best things in life. I'm a working girl.
Good. I'm gonna take that to the grave. So what I was saying about that movie, going back to that, is do you think maybe in high school there could be some kind of test, or I wouldn't even say a test, like a summer program to maybe psychologically put someone into a course to see, do you think that's possible to figure out what they want to do in life?
I don't know if that's possible, just because, how would you fund it? It's a wonderful idea. I think it would be beneficial, but I don't know if it would be realistic because like some people will work over the summer. You know, I trained for cross country over the summer. People go on vacations and stuff. So
Well, but this is for the rest of your life, so maybe they should not go on vacation.
I mean, but they have like online quizzes, and you know, you can kind of take stuff like that and see what you're interested in. You can see
so a little Facebook online quiz is probably not going to do it.
No, but I mean, you can kind of see what you're interested in, and you can get an internship and kind of experience what it's like. You can shadow a doctor or something.
Okay.
You know, and it's always good to have connections, you know, if like some high schooler was interested in tower climbing, or they just, you know, wanted to see other options, I would recommend them to Ryan and say, hey, can you show them around in a day in your life?
They don't want to come to me. I will bury a hole and put them in it and tell them to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm gonna throw them in the fire because I don't want them to go in the wrong direction. But if they're built for it, they'll love being in the hole with dirt all over them.
Exactly.
So to wrap this up, I think it's safe to say that we both agree to try college first out of high school.
I think if
at
you
least
don't,
the community.
if you're not 100% sure what you want to do, then I think that community college is the best option because it's much less expensive than a 4-year university, and you don't want to waste your money on that if you just plan on, you know, you're not quite sure that's what you want to do.
So briefly, what about the people that just don't do anything?
As in, like,
They
homeless?
don't go to school. They don't go to
Not homeless people.
no. That's actually another topic about LA. I'm gonna get into that later. But no, kids that they just want to party and that's it. And they decide, you know what, I'm not gonna go to college and I'm not gonna go to trade school. Typically it's because their parents are loaded, so they could just sit at home for about 5 years until one day their friends pass them up and they're still sitting at home.
I think
parents'
that
pad.
I think that at that point, you know, if that's what they want to do, it might be kind of hard to get through to them. Unfortunately, you can't help everybody. You know, you can't push everybody in the right direction. There's only so much that you can do. And if you spend your life worrying about, you know, the person who's being funded by their rich parents and their behaviors being rewarded by receiving more and more money, that it's just, you know, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. So definitely my advice is go to college, or at least a community college. Even those like a phlebotomist, I know it's a year-long course or 2-year-long course, which usually going to get paid a little bit more than working at McDonald's or any kind of the corporation. They have a lot of programs now where, you know, I think they're trying to steer away from going to a 6-year university just so you could learn one thing. You have to learn all these different things. Because in my opinion, if you want to be the best of the best, you want to focus on one thing, not a million other things. But I understand your aspect too, where you learn a lot of other aspects about life. Yeah,
you know, you're exposed to all different kinds of majors in all those gen ed classes.
You know what I really want in high school is just basic common sense. Telling people how to save money, how to treat people well.
How to do your taxes. They don't teach you how to do that in high school.
I don't know how to do my taxes, but I know somebody that knows how to do taxes.
But I know how to do ceramics. I can make you a real good box.
Yeah. I think arts and crafts or well, at least wood shop. Did they have wood shop at your school?
In middle school, we had wood shop, but in high school, we had ceramics. I took fashion technology and design, but I recently learned how to do my taxes.
Damn.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Had to figure it out the hard way.
Congratulations.
Was not taught that in school.
Did the IRS hit you up?
No.
My mom always told me God first and then the IRS. Then everything else.
It's a good saying.
That wraps everything up. All I was saying is go to college first, try it out. If not, trade school's there. This is a testament to you guys knowing that you could go either route. It's just depending if it's your child, yourself, whoever it is that deciding, you know what, I want to go to college, I want to go to trade school. I hope this was informative and helps you decide what to do in life. And later I'm going to get into what we actually do in telecom. But thank you for coming on. Do you have anything else to share with us?
Do what makes you happy.
I like that.
Yeah. There's no one path. Just,
Can I?
follow your passion. Do good for others. Help people when you can.
How could I stay at
And
home,
be successful.
make $1 million, and be happy without working?
You wouldn't be helping others. You'd just be helping yourself.
No, I'll figure something out.
Well, if you
I'll
can
pass
figure
out some can of beans out to the homeless people in LA. Maybe like 5 cans of beans a day.
I think they eat a little bit more than that.
You think so?
Maybe.
So, but I appreciate everyone coming in, and I thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to American Tower Climbers. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
For more information and updates, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at American Tower Climbers.
I always follow him.
Until next time, take care, y'all.